Hello everyone. I'm so glad that you could join us for this video series. Today I'm going to talk about the need for training pastoral spouses. Here the term pastoral spouses training does not refer a 3-day-long seminar randomly held by local conferences or union conference. It actually means a formal education course offered on a semester basis in order to provide help and guidance to the ministry of pastoral spouses. Do you really need a regular education course for pastoral spouses? Are you temporary or occasional seminars not good enough? E.M. Bounds, a successful missionary in China, said, "The Holy Spirit does not work through method, but through men." If evangelism was supposed to be done by angels, the earth would have been saved a long time ago, but that's not the case. The salvation of the cross must be fulfilled through the Holy Spirit who uses us, even though we are weak and deficient. That's why we are here. We are called as pastoral spouses in spite of our weaknesses because of God needs us to work for Him. Ellen White talks about the importance of the role of pastoral spouses by saying, "The spouse of minister of the gospel can be either a most successful helper or and great blessing to her husband, or a hindrance to him in his work. It depends very much on the spouse whether a minister will rise from day to day in his or her spheres of usefulness, or whether he will sink to the ordinary level." And because our role is so important, we sometimes feel incredibly burdened. The reason we feel that way is because most of us think that we took on these valuable and difficult responsibilities without any special preparation. In order to become a pastor, you take 4 years of undergraduate theology courses and 2 more years of graduate study. After you become a pastor, you receive regular ministerial training every year. Even then, pastors find it difficult to keep up with their tasks. Spouses usually prepare themselves to be something else, like nurse and nutritionist or pianist. As they get married to a pastor, their direction of life completely changes. Now they are suddenly thrown into the position of a professional minister. You have humbled yourself and chosen to be a tool of the Holy Spirit to join the holy work of God, but you find yourself ever so insignificant and helpless as you face responsibilities that require a variety of professional abilities. Every time you face difficulties, your self-esteem dwindles slowly to the point of your initial weaknesses, and you realize that you have started ministry without much preparation. Despite the difficulty of being pastoral spouses, the reality is that the expectation for your ministry is growing more than ever these days. Many papers give evidence to this reality in specific numbers and figures. Kim Sang-tae wrote a paper in 1992 about the survey conducted among estate pastors to measure the level of influence of pastoral spouses. And 89.6% and 85.2% of spouses and pastors respectively answered that the role of spouses are quite influential. On the other hand, the Liwa newspaper 2002, 63 80.5% of NSD pastoral spouses answered that they find it difficult to carry out their role. This means that there is an expectation gap in the church and among pastoral spouses. Nelson speaks for pastoral spouses about their difficulties by saying, among all the tasks of women, the most dangerous and adventurous is the role of a pastoral spouse. Then what kind of difficulties are the pastoral spouses dealing with? With my roles as a counseling psychology professor, counselor, and pastoral spouses, I've had many opportunities over the years to give lectures at various seminars and conferences for pastoral spouses. At every event, many pastoral spouses have requested counseling. Recently, I've also been providing counseling to pastors and their spouses together. The following are the major difficulties that spouses go through. First, there is no clear definition and concept of his or her position. Han Sung-mo said that in a community called church, the pastor's spouse is most often a wife of a pastor, mother of her children, and one in charge of her family's bills and coordinating who takes care of the whole family's affairs, chief usher and non-regular assistant teacher at church school, a cook in the church kitchen in charge of dishwashing, and most of all are counselor for church members. Lee Hong-ba's paper says there is no clear set of rules or directions on what kind of duties the spouses shall execute. Even if there was such rules, no one informs the spouses on them. Since the spouses have no other choice but to carry out their duties based on their expectations or existing practice, mistakes or problems are bound to occur. Jung Jung-suk, a pastoral spouse, shared her experience in her paper. Being a pastoral spouse is seriously demanding work from any and every aspect, and it is impossible for a woman to fulfill all the responsibilities she is demanded for, unless she has a superhuman ability. The common thread here is that since there are no set rules, pastoral spouses are asked to carry out multiple roles. And in order for them to fulfill all of them properly, they must have some kind of superhuman abilities. Second, there is no formal course of education for pastoral spouses. My husband is currently serving at the Seventh-day Adventist Institute Church. When he first became a pastor, he used to read a particular document, the job description of a pastor. It seemed quite helpful for rookie pastors as it provides guidance for carrying out required roles as a pastor at the Institute Church. Pastors go through undergraduate and graduate studies as theology majors. They also take a course called Practical Experience as a Pastor. They then build experience by being a student pastor, junior pastor, and an intern pastor. In the course of these steps, they get a clear concept of their role and are trained for a long period of time. They learn the ropes. But what about their spouses? The moment they get married, they jump into the ministry as a pastoral spouse because of their husband's occupation. It has been almost 15 years since I became a pastoral spouse, and I've never heard or seen any form of job description for pastoral spouses. And all the senior pastoral spouses I have talked to told me that they never received a formal education. This being the case, they are bound to make a lot of mistakes, all while reluctant to share their experiences, saying that there are no specific ways to get around these mistakes since every church is different. Third, there is a lack of social support. Pastoral spouses have no one to turn to when they have problems, when they are under mental or emotional stresses, or when they are simply hurt. since they are likely to be assigned to a new surrounding again in the near future, likely far from families, friends, or relatives. They have a very limited source of social support. In most cases, pastors are called to move to another church every few years. By the time they've just adjusted to your surroundings, you have to leave. Therefore, it's not easy to make friends with your neighbors and guide your children who may experience difficulties in adapting to new surroundings. And you always feel burdened by the need to adjust to new places and people. And most of all, it's hard to find someone to share your difficulties in ministry, problems between you and your spouse, or troubles of raising children. It is especially difficult to talk about your hardship born out of ministry, and therefore you ended up doing them all by yourself. The only person you could talk to is your spouse, and if your relationship with your spouse is not sound, or you have a hard time communicating with them, you basically have to go through these difficulties alone. Fourth, you are always asked to keep your feelings and emotions to yourself. You shouldn't look happy, even if you are. You shouldn't look sad or depressed, even if you are. You shouldn't smile, even if you are upset. All of these situations are very stressful. Even if you've just had a fight with your husband, the moment you enter church, you have to wear a bright smile and act as if nothing is wrong. Even if you are treated in a completely unfair and unreasonable way, you are not allowed to speak up for yourself. You just hold it in. That's the life of pastoral spouses. All the stresses that come from restraining your emotions are becoming more and more frequent. They are simply shoved aside as mere physical fatigues or illness. Fifth, you are asked to be perfect. You are automatically assumed or expected to do well in cooking, playing the piano, arranging flowers, teaching children, singing, and wearing a beautiful smile, keeping yourself look sophisticated and fit, raising children, assisting your husband, providing helpful counseling to church members, and everything else. If you fail to good at one of these requirements, people may think you are a problem and complain about it. Such high expectations to be multifaceted and multifunctional place a huge burden on pastoral spouses. And it is difficult for them to carry out their role happily and confidently. Lastly, financial difficulties. Unlike other denominations, SDA pastors received fixed stable salary according to their period of service. Therefore, compared to other denominations, you experience less financial instability or imbalanced salary that depends on the size of your church. However, your salary is lower than the average. Considering the high education expense for your children, financial difficulties are unavoidable. Liwanus paper says that due to all these difficulties, 44.8% of SDA pastoral spouses have suffered from some kind of illness or disease just in the last 5 years. And 54% of them counted mental stresses as the main cause of their illness. In Kim Sung-guk's paper, out of 163 pastoral spouses who are experiencing stresses, and 98.2% answered that they had not sought or received any professional help. In her thesis, Jang Eun-jin said that Of the 726 pastoral spouses who participated, 42.7% were not in good health condition, and financial difficulty is the biggest burden for them. They wanted to get help with their problems by participating in a counseling program with their husband. 59.6% of respondents said that they were experiencing some form of depression, and 10% of them said they were severely depressed. All studies on pastoral spouses who are experiencing these difficulties suggested the same solution: training and counseling for pastoral spouses. Kim Kyung-ran's study on the need to train pastoral spouses found that 49.8% of the respondents feel the need very much, and 40% a lot, which means that most of pastoral spouses are in dire need of training. Jang Eun-jin's study has also proven that 90.9% of the respondents were willing to participate in a counseling program for pastoral spouses. After reading these advanced studies, I began to wonder whether there are any formal training courses for pastoral spouses in other denominations. I started researching. Duranno Pastoral Spouse College of Duranno Bible College, which is run by Onnuri Church, is offering a 3-year and 6-semester program, and Happy Pastoral Spouse College of Korea Family Counseling Institute offer various single semester 3-month programs. Chongshin University's Social Education Center also offer 2-year and 4-semester expert course on a pastoral spouses counseling program. Kim Kyung-ran's paper suggested a 4-year and 8-semester formal training course for pastoral spouses in 3 particular steps. First, for preparatory training, and second, formal training, and third, continuing education training. The purpose of this formal training is to help pastoral spouses in 3 ways. First, restoration of God's image. Second, a realization of God's purpose and living in a life with a vision. And the third, becoming a minister who serves others. The major content of the training includes Bible theology, counseling training, and group training, and self-development training, leadership training, and vision creation. And now, what about our SDA Church? The current training for pastoral spouses can be largely divided into 3 parts. First, the basic training for spouses of junior and intern pastors is held for 1 week at the Adventist Training Center. Second, you can participate in the continuing training and be spiritually uplifted at the Adventist Training Center for a week every 5 years. Third, each local conference provides a 3-day training course every 2 years. SDA Pastor Spouses Training consists of sharing experiences and relaxation programs. And the training program for each local conference is usually prepared by the pastors and spouses who belong in that conference. Our current reality is that, unlike other denominations, no attempt has yet been made to provide any formal training program taught by experts. Our current training programs lack systematic contents and therefore fail to provide any form of continuity in terms of the effect of the training. I also found out that even at the general conference level, and there is no attempt to provide a formal training for pastoral spouses. Considering these facts, I have felt the desperate need to create a formal training course for SDA pastoral spouses. The following are my course suggestions. First, pastoral spouses spiritual and physical health training program through the Adventist Training Center's program. Second, mind training program composed of pastoral spouses mental fitness and relationship training. And third, pastoral spouses counseling training program where they can receive systematic training and practical help on how to carry out their ministry. If we implement this kind of carefully crafted training program and achieve a high level of wellness in our physical, mental, and social and spiritual state, and if we got ourselves ready to carry out our role in a much more professional manner, and our influence will increase, and we will be able to better demonstrate the leadership of women at our church, where women are the majority. After many years of prayers by many church members, the need for formal training of pastoral spouses was finally answered in 2014. General Conference and North Asia Pacific Division and Korean Union Conference made a unanimous decision to take the first step forward in Korea. In March 2014, the trial lecture for mind training was given to around 20 pastoral spouses in the Seoul area. After 12 weeks of training, it was proven through the participants' testimonies that there is certainly a positive impact on the course. That's when I was encouraged to share this training course with you. At this moment, two questions may come to mind. Why pastor spouses mind or mental training? And what's the reason to choose this course as a demonstration? As I mentioned earlier, it all began from my personal experience. As a counselor and counseling professor and pastor spouse for the past 15 years, I've had many opportunities to give lectures at various seminars and conference meetings for pastor spouses. And I also provide them counseling. Recently, I've also been providing counseling for pastors' couples. I've learned and discovered a lot from these experiences. They were all pastors and pastor spouses. They were all spiritual leaders who preached, prayed, and served God's church. Yet they are suffering physical, mental, social, and spiritual hardships. How could their hardships be explained? What could I do to help them overcome their struggles? As I talked with them, a passage from Step to Christ came to my mind. He uses life's worries and sorrows. He uses the faults of others and our own faults and weaknesses to turn our thoughts from God. We must not let Satan deceive us with these thoughts. Many who really desire to live for God are led to think and talk about their faults. In this way, we are separated from Christ and Satan gains the victory. I realize that they are helpless victims of Satan's modernized version of attack. Minder, Character and Personality, Volume 2, page 800 says, we are to cultivate the talent given us by God. They are His gift and are to be used in their right relations to each other so as to make a perfect whole. God gives the talent, the power of the mind. Man makes the character. The mind is the Lord's garden, and the man must cultivate it earnestly in order to form a character after the divine similitude. When I realized from reading these passages is that while we are aware of the importance of developing our mind and character, we haven't put much effort into developing specific training method and continuing education. I'm currently reading a book called 마음력, which means mind power. In this book, an experienced psychiatrist introduced preventive measures and cures for problems of the mind. About 100 years ago, Ellen White told us to keep strengthening the power of our mind. Only now are experts realizing this importance, which is becoming one of the hottest topics today. We spend our money and time working out at gym in order to maintain our physical health. Our mental health also needs exercise, as when you lose weight and become fit with a physical exercise, when you exercise your mind, or when you do a mental workout, your mind will become stronger and systematically develop your potential talents, thus making you more confident. One of the major issues of the 21st century is mental health. This is Satan's biggest interest, to attack and destroy your state of mind. I see this reality whenever I provide counseling and when I serve my church and teach students. Satan doesn't attack us visibly. He attacks the deepest part of our mind. Satan copied and skewed God's message on developing the power of mind in order to confuse us. A lecture called "The Major Issue in the 21st Century is Mental Health" point out that the world out there put more focused on spiritual energy or meditation. What it is saying is that although the method may look and sound similar to God's message, they are actually attempts to replace God's role with the mass measure. Ellen White talks about the need for mind training in order for us to fix our eyes on the grace and glory of God through His Word, instead of being swayed by the negative aspect of our lives. She says, your present happiness and your future eternal happiness depends upon your fixing your mind upon cheerful things, looking away from the dark pictures, which is imaginary, to the benefit which God has strewn in your pathway, and beyond this, to the unseen and eternal. Ellen White's writings gave me more confidence on mind training, which is all about helping you turn from darknesses so that you may clearly see grace, gratitude, and hope. I've been teaching counseling and providing counseling to the students since 2000. One thing I found was that we have so many students with wounded hearts at our school. I came to this conclusion after giving them an important assignment called "Who Am I?" and learned about their precious life filled with joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. At first, I was such an overly enthusiastic teacher. Then I spent every spare moment giving counseling and writing lengthy letters to all my students because I felt deeply for them. But as I was overwhelmed by the stories of over 1,000 students, I felt a sense of responsibilities that I should do something more for them. Then an idea dawned on me. It would be more effective to provide a semester-long class to heal the wounded hearts of many students at once, instead of providing a short period of help to a limited number of students. That's when I created a course called Positive Psychology. My goal through this class was to heal the scars of the struggling student and help them to bring out their strengths and goodness. My ultimate dream was to see one healthy student bring about a positive influence and change to their family and friends. This would make people around them happy and in turn make everyone's world happy. This class was also a great means for me to teach them that genuine happiness is completed through divinity. I formulated a curriculum and launched a class in 2007. The result was mind-blowing. Students started to report positive effects from the course that I have not even expected. At first, I didn't exactly believe their reports. But as I received similar reports semester after semester, I became curious and wanted to verify them. I began the study in 2013, and in 2014, I was able to submit a thesis that verified the effects of this class. Through this class, students experienced a greater degree of happiness and an increase in their resilience in overcoming adversities. They also said that the most helpful aspect of this class was that they experienced a clear improvement of their depression. Based on many years of experience and the mind training exercise, which has been proven for its scientific effect, I suggested providing this course to pastoral spouses who suffered from stress and depression. I got a positive reaction from the Korean Union Conference administrators. If your physical strength weakens, you become ill. In the same way, if your mind runs out of strength and power, you feel weary and your resistance against the stress weakens. Then you are bound to suffer some form of illness of the mind. I wanted to help those who are suffering to personally experience Ellen G. White's message, which tells us that we must keep our mind healthy through training, just like our body. The key to becoming a healthy person can be expressed in a chart like this. When a person who is as precious as the blood of Jesus realizes his love, understands his own worth, and practice positive thinking according to his word, then he will realize the fact that there are more things to be thankful for and happy about rather than being stressed and frustrated. Once you realize this truth, you will treat others with more respect and help them find something positive about themselves. If you keep respecting and helping one another, you become one and create harmony together. You will feel truly happy and learn about the grace of God in depth when you are able to work together for the happiness of others. The mind training course for pastoral spouses consists of the following: gratitude, kindness, forgiveness, and love, and devotion training, and life meaning training, and vision training. The course was provided as follows. The class was held once a week for 2 hours and 3 minutes. During the class, there was a group discussion and multimedia lecture and quiet time training and quiet time sharing through social medias, and writing a daily rainbow diary. When you write down 3 things you are grateful for, and 2 compliments, and 2 acts of kindness. There was also a natural mentoring time through the social support of colleagues, a variety of psychological tests, and experiencing learning. The result was surprising. Participants shared their testimonies. Let's hear what they had to say.
처음에는 혼자 긍정적인 나였다면 지금은 서로 배려할 수 있고 또 함께 나눌 수 있는 자가 된 것 같습니다. 예를 들어서 손가락에 기부스를 한 것처럼 그냥 가만히 있었던 나였는데 지금은 뭐 SNS나 좋은 것이 있으면 나누어 주고 싶은 마음이 생겼고 그것을 같이 함께 공유하고 싶은 마음이 생겼거든요. 그것이 제일 크게 변한 것 같고 또 2강인가에서 용서하는 훈련이 있었는데 그 용서라는 것이 나를 위한 것이라는 것을 교수님께서 말씀하셨어요. 그것이 마음에 굉장히 와닿았고 용서할 수 있는 마음이 커진 거라는 것을 배웠고요.
네, 사모 마음 훈련학교에 후배 사모님의 권유로 제가 오게 되었는데요. 그때 당시만 해도 제가 웃음도 사라지고 여러 해 동안 기도한 것이 응답되지 않는 그런 것들 통해서 신앙에도 많은 슬럼프가 있었던 당시였거든요. 근데 이 사모 마음 훈련학교의 후배 초청에 하나님께서 무슨 뜻이 있으신가 보다 하고 참여하게 되었는데요. 이곳에서 무지개 일기라고 칭찬과 친절과 그리고 감사 일기를 매주 써서 내야 되는 숙제가 있었는데 처음에는 그냥 숙제니까 해야 돼서 했는데 하다 보니까 제가 평소에 늘 감사하지 않고 살았다는 생각이 들었고 그래서 하다 보니 감사할 것을 찾다 보니까 더 많은 감사가 생기고 저희 마음속에서 이 깊은 곳에서 감사한 마음이 진정으로 이렇게 흘러나오는 걸 느꼈어요. 그리고 저희 가정에서도 제가 이렇게 기쁘지 않으니까 아이들한테도 화내는 것도 많았고 말도 없고 이랬었는데 이제는 바뀌어서 남편과의 대화도 많이 늘었고 또 아이들과 하고 싶었던 그런 말씀 묵상을 같이 하면서 서로 은혜를 나누고 하면서 제가 잔소리하던 것이 없어지고 아이를 인정해주고 하니까 가족의 분위기가 달라지고 또 그러면서 더욱더 이런 것을 제가 더 많이 경험해서 이렇게 힘들어하는 후배 사모님들에게 혹시 그런 얼굴빛이 보이거나 하면 함께 기도해주고 또 들어주고 또 조언해주고 하는 그런 역할을 제가 해야 되겠다라는 생각을 했습니다.
Now we are about to begin our 10 weeks happy journey of mind training together. Are you ready?